Day 6 of the heat wave, 11:30 p.m., and my bedroom still felt like an oven despite 2 box fans running at full speed. A knock came at my back door. Kayla Reyes stood on my porch, hair pulled into a messy bun, barefoot on the hot concrete. "Lake's still warm enough to be bearable," she said. "Want to come cool off?" "I don't have a swimsuit handy," I admitted. She shrugged, smiling. "Neither do I, honestly. I didn't even think to grab one. Figured we'd manage." Grabbing my keys anyway, uncertain exactly what that evening would reveal about the neighbor I'd known for 2 years. My name is Ryan, and Kayla Reyes had lived directly across from my rental house for nearly 2 years by the time that particular heat wave pushed both of us toward an impulsive midnight decision that hadn't been specifically planned by either of us. Working remotely as a software developer for a company based 3 time zones away, I had the kind of schedule with considerable flexibility, though the demanding nature of the work itself often kept me indoors far longer than genuinely healthy during normal weather, let alone during the kind of oppressive heat wave that had settled over our entire region for nearly a week straight. Kayla worked as an emergency room nurse at the regional hospital. She saved lives for a living. I wrote code. We'd somehow ended up equally sleep-deprived in adjacent houses, running on coffee and inadequate AC. We developed the kind of comfortable, easy neighbor friendship built on small interactions, borrowed tools, watching each other's mail during vacations, occasional shared beers on my porch during pleasant summer evenings, when both our schedules happened to align. By that 6th consecutive day of oppressive heat, both Kayla and I had reached the particular exhausted desperation that eventually prompts impulsive decisions that wouldn't typically seem reasonable under normal circumstances. Lying awake in my overheated bedroom around 11:30 that particular night, 2 box fans running at maximum speed doing genuinely little to combat the heat, I heard knocking at my back door. Kayla stood on my porch when I answered, wearing a simple tank top and shorts, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, bare feet against my porch's still warm concrete, despite the late hour. "I know this is a strange time to knock," she said, "but I genuinely cannot sleep in this heat anymore. The lake's still warm enough to be comfortable, even at night. Want to come cool off with me?" "That actually sounds incredible," I admitted, genuine relief flooding through me at the possibility of any temperature relief. "I don't have a swimsuit readily accessible," I said, genuinely uncertain how to navigate this practical complication, given the late hour and my desire to actually experience some genuine relief from the oppressive heat. Kayla shrugged, her expression carrying easy, practical acceptance rather than any particular concern. "Neither do I, honestly. I didn't even think to grab one before knocking on your door. I figured we'd manage with whatever we're already wearing, given the actual urgency of just needing to cool off." Grabbing my house keys without further hesitation, I followed Kayla toward the small lake access point roughly a quarter mile from our shared street. "How did you discover this lake access point?" I asked, as we walked together through the still oppressive nighttime heat. "I've lived here longer than you have," Kayla reminded me. "Nearly 5 years total. This spot's been my emergency heat relief location for as long as I've lived in this neighborhood." The lake itself, once we arrived, carried the particular stillness that late-night bodies of water often display, moonlight reflecting across the surface in a long, silvery path that stretched toward the opposite shore, where scattered porch lights indicated other lakeside homes. "This is genuinely beautiful," I said, taking in the scene properly for the first time. "I come here more often than I probably should admit," Kayla said. "Something about the quiet helps process difficult shifts at the hospital." We waded into the water together, still fully clothed given our earlier practical decision to simply manage with whatever we'd been wearing, rather than delay our heat relief searching for actual swimwear, the lake's temperature providing genuine, immediate relief from the night's oppressive heat. "Can I ask you something?" I said, once we both acclimated to the water's comfortable temperature. "What kind of difficult shifts specifically bring you out here processing things alone?" Kayla considered the question seriously, her expression shifting into something more vulnerable than her typical composed, practical demeanor usually revealed. And then she told me, "Tonight actually was genuinely difficult. We lost a patient in the ER, a teenager, car accident." She said it quietly, looking out at the water rather than at me. The moonlight was still. The only sound was the lake moving gently around us. "Cases like that stay with you longer than most people probably realize," she said. "I'm so sorry," I said, and meant it in a way I hadn't expected to mean something that simply, "That sounds genuinely devastating." "It is," Kayla admitted, "though I've learned that processing it somewhere quiet, somewhere beautiful, actually helps considerably more than just going home and staring at my ceiling trying to sleep despite everything I'm carrying." She looked at me then, water up to her waist, dark hair loose from the bun now, and something about the directness of her expression made me understand that she didn't share this with most people. "I had no idea your work carried this kind of emotional weight," I said. "I think I've genuinely underestimated what your job actually requires, beyond just the practical medical skills." "Most people do," Kayla said, though her tone carried understanding rather than any particular resentment. "It's easier to see the competent, composed version I present during brief interactions than to fully understand the emotional labor happening underneath that composure." "Thank you for trusting me with this tonight," I said. "I don't think I've ever had this genuine a conversation with you, despite 2 years of being neighbors. Sometimes late-night heat desperation creates unexpected honesty," Kayla said, laughing slightly despite the conversation's earlier heavy content. We continued wading through the cool water for nearly an hour that first night, conversation gradually shifting from the evening's difficult hospital events into broader territory neither of us had previously explored during our typical brief neighbor interactions. "Same time tomorrow?" Kayla asked, as we finally walked back toward our respective houses sometime past 1 in the morning, both of us considerably more relaxed than our earlier heat-exhausted states had allowed. "I genuinely like that," I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it beyond simply appreciating temperature relief. We met again the following night, and the night after that, our impromptu midnight swimming sessions becoming an unexpected ritual throughout the heat wave's continued duration. Each evening's conversation built naturally on the previous discussion, revealing increasingly personal details about both our lives. "I moved here originally to escape a difficult relationship," Kayla admitted, during our third night of shared midnight swimming, nearly a week into our new pattern. "Nothing dramatically abusive, just genuinely unhealthy, the kind of relationship that slowly erodes your confidence without any single obvious breaking point." "I understand that pattern," I said. "My last relationship ended similarly, gradual erosion rather than any dramatic single event. We just slowly stopped being good for each other until continuing felt genuinely unsustainable." "How long ago was that?" Kayla asked. "About 2 years," I said, "roughly around when I actually moved into this neighborhood, though I don't think I've fully processed everything from that relationship until relatively recently." "I think our timelines are remarkably similar," Kayla observed. "I moved here almost exactly 5 years ago, though my actual healing process from that previous relationship probably took nearly 3 years before I felt genuinely stable again." By our 5th consecutive night of shared midnight swimming, nearly 2 weeks into this developing ritual, conversation had shifted from simply processing past relationships into more immediate territory regarding our current lives and genuine compatibility. "Can I ask you something slightly awkward?" Kayla said, as we floated together in the lake's cooling water, moonlight casting familiar silver light across the surface. "Of course. Have you ever considered that these midnight swims might be developing into something beyond simple neighborly friendship?" Kayla asked directly, considering the question seriously before answering. "Honestly, yes," I admitted. "I think I've been looking forward to these nights considerably more than simple heat relief would explain." "I felt something similar," Kayla said, relief visible in her expression at my honest reciprocal admission. "Though I wasn't certain if you were experiencing something comparable, or if I was simply projecting feelings onto what might genuinely just be friendly neighbor camaraderie." "I don't think it's simple friendship anymore," I said. "At least not for me." We floated together in comfortable silence for several minutes, processing this important, if somewhat unexpected, acknowledgement of developing romantic feelings between us. "What do we do with this?" Kayla asked eventually. "Given that we're neighbors, given how much our daily proximity actually means, pursuing something romantic carries different complications than typical dating relationships might." "I think we approach it carefully," I said, "genuinely building something real rather than rushing into anything. That seems wise," Kayla agreed. "Though I'm genuinely excited about the possibility, despite understanding the added complexity our neighbor status creates." We continued our midnight swimming ritual over the following week, our conversations now carrying explicit acknowledgement of developing romantic feelings rather than simply platonic, neighborly connection. Nearly 3 weeks after that first impulsive midnight invitation, the heat wave finally broke, temperatures dropping to considerably more reasonable levels that eliminated the practical urgency that had originally established our nightly swimming ritual. "I suppose we don't technically need to keep meeting at the lake anymore," Kayla observed during what would become our final heat wave-necessitated swimming session. "Now that the weather's actually reasonable again. Do you want to stop?" I asked, genuinely uncertain how she felt about continuing our developing connection now that the original practical justification no longer existed. "Absolutely not," Kayla said immediately. "I think we should keep meeting here, though maybe transition toward actual dates rather than just impromptu heat desperation swimming sessions." Transitioning from impromptu midnight swimming into more traditional dating occurred naturally over the following weeks. Kayla and I gradually building our relationship through increasingly intentional time together beyond our original heatwave-necessitated lake visits. What we discovered during that transition was that our genuine compatibility ran considerably deeper than crisis-driven midnight camaraderie had suggested, deeper in ways that would matter considerably as our relationship faced its real tests. "I want to actually take you on a proper date," I told Kayla, about a week after the heatwave finally broke. "Something beyond just meeting at the lake at midnight, however much I've genuinely enjoyed those conversations." "I'd like that," Kayla said, smiling. "Though I'll admit those midnight lake conversations hold a special place in how I think about our relationship's beginning." We began dating properly, our established comfort from weeks of genuine nighttime conversation, providing an unusually solid foundation for what might otherwise have felt like typical early relationship uncertainty. "This feels different than most new relationships," Kayla observed, during our second official date at a restaurant downtown. "We already know so much about each other's genuine character, thanks to those late-night lake conversations." "How do we handle your rotating shift schedule?" I asked during that same second date, genuinely wanting to understand practical logistics given her demanding profession's unpredictable hours. "Honestly, that's been a real complication in my previous relationships," Kayla admitted. "Most partners struggled with my unpredictable hours, the emotional exhaustion I sometimes bring home after difficult shifts, the genuine unpredictability of emergency medicine. I think my remote work flexibility might actually complement that unpredictability well," I said. "I can adjust my own schedule to accommodate whatever rhythm your work requires." "That would genuinely help," Kayla said, visible relief crossing her expression. Previous partners often resented the schedule complications rather than adapting alongside them. Over the following months, Kayla and I built our relationship around her demanding hospital schedule, my flexible remote work allowing me to adapt my own rhythms to accommodate whatever her rotating shifts required. "I keep thinking about how differently this relationship feels," Kayla said during one particular evening about 3 months into our official dating relationship. "Not just because of your schedule flexibility, but because we built genuine friendship first, before ever pursuing anything romantic." "That foundation matters," I agreed. We already understood each other's genuine character before adding romantic complexity. 4 months into our relationship, Kayla invited me to meet her parents during their planned visit, a milestone that carried real weight given how seriously she generally approached family introductions. "My parents are going to ask pointed questions," Kayla warned beforehand. "They've watched me navigate difficult relationships before, partners who couldn't handle my career's demands. They'll want genuine reassurance that you understand what you're building with me." Kayla's mother, Elena, studied me carefully throughout our initial dinner together, clearly evaluating whether I represented genuine long-term compatibility or another temporary relationship that might eventually founder against her daughter's demanding profession. "Kayla mentioned you two met through unusual circumstances," Elena observed midway through dinner. "Something about midnight swimming during that terrible heat wave." "That's accurate," I said, smiling at the memory. Neither of us could sleep, and Kayla suggested cooling off at the local lake. We ended up talking for hours, several nights running, before either of us acknowledged developing feelings beyond simple, neighborly friendship. "That's a remarkably organic way to build genuine connection," Elena observed, rather than the typical rushed dating app encounters most young people seem to experience these days. "How do you feel about her career's demands specifically?" Elena asked directly. "The unpredictable hours, the emotional weight she sometimes carries home from difficult shifts." "I respect her work enormously," I said honestly. "I've watched her process genuinely difficult professional experiences during our early friendship, before we even started dating officially. I understand the emotional labor her career requires, and I want to support that rather than resent it." "That's precisely the answer I was hoping to hear," Elena said. Kayla's previous partners often claimed a similar understanding initially, then gradually revealed resentment once the actual demands became genuinely inconvenient for their own preferences. "I don't think that will happen with us," Kayla said, reaching for my hand under the table. "Ryan's already demonstrated genuine flexibility and understanding throughout these past several months." Over the following months, our relationship continued deepening, Kayla's family gradually building genuine warmth toward our connection as they witnessed firsthand how successfully we navigated the practical challenges her demanding career created. 6 months into our relationship, a difficult stretch arrived that tested everything we'd been building. A series of consecutive challenging shifts left Kayla genuinely exhausted and emotionally depleted in ways I hadn't previously witnessed during our relationship. "I don't know how much longer I can sustain this pace," Kayla admitted during one particular evening after an especially difficult week of consecutive shifts. "The emotional weight keeps accumulating faster than I can properly process it." "What do you need from me right now?" I asked, genuinely wanting to provide whatever support might actually help during this difficult period. "Just presence," Kayla said. "Someone who understands why I might be quiet or emotionally distant sometimes, without taking that distance personally or requiring me to immediately explain everything." Adjusting my own schedule more deliberately during her difficult work stretches meant different things on different nights. One night she came home at 2 in the morning, still in scrubs, and I had tea ready and didn't ask a single question. She sat down across from me, wrapped her hands around the mug, and after about 10 minutes said, "There were 2 kids today. Both okay, but for a while." She stopped. I waited. She didn't finish the sentence, and I didn't push. We just sat there until she was ready to go to bed. Another night, she wanted to watch a completely terrible action movie and laugh at every impossible thing that happened. I ranked the implausibilities out loud. She gave points for creativity. We fell asleep on the couch. "You've gotten remarkably good at reading what I actually need," Kayla observed, about 2 months after that difficult stretch during a comparatively calmer period at the hospital. "Sometimes conversation, sometimes just quiet company, sometimes space entirely." "I've been paying attention," I said, "trying to understand your genuine patterns rather than assuming what support should look like." As our relationship approached its 1-year anniversary, I started seriously considering our long-term future. "I've been thinking about something important," I told Kayla about 11 months into our relationship. "About formalizing our commitment, given everything we've built together since that first midnight swim." Kayla's eyes carried immediate understanding. "Are you thinking about moving in together, or something more permanent?" "Something more permanent," I admitted, "though I want to understand your genuine feelings before making any specific plans." "I think I'm ready too," Kayla said, genuine warmth crossing her expression. "You've demonstrated exactly the kind of patient, understanding partnership I need, given my career's demanding nature." Discussing my intentions carefully with Kayla's parents beforehand felt essential, wanting their genuine blessing given how significantly their support had come to matter throughout our relationship's development. "I'm planning to propose to Kayla," I told Elena and her husband during a private conversation about 2 weeks before my planned proposal. "I wanted your honest reaction before moving forward. We've watched you support her through genuinely difficult professional periods," Elena said. "Then watched you build something authentically healthy and respectful together. We couldn't be more supportive of this decision." Planning the proposal required solving one specific problem that made me laugh when I thought about it. The location was obvious, but the lake made it complicated. The ring needed protection. I found a jeweler who made waterproof cases, small, velvet-lined, designed exactly for this. When I picked it up, I thought, this is the most us solution to a problem I have ever found. The night itself arrived warm, the air carrying none of the brutal oppression of the heat wave, but enough of its softness that the lake felt familiar in the right way. Arranging small floating lanterns across the surface, the walk to the water felt longer than usual with everything I was carrying. Kayla arrived at the lake's edge and went quiet when she saw the lanterns on the water. "This feels remarkably intentional," she observed. "It should," I said, smiling, despite genuine nervousness. "Do you remember what happened right here, nearly exactly 1 year ago?" I knocked on your door at midnight during that terrible heat wave, Kayla said, her voice carrying visible emotion. Neither of us had swimsuits. We just waded in wearing whatever we happened to have on. Exactly, I said, wading into the familiar water beside her. That impulsive decision revealed something neither of us expected. I don't want you ever facing difficult nights alone again. I want to be exactly the presence you need, permanently. Retrieving the waterproof box from my pocket, opening it to reveal a ring inside, the lake's gentle current lapping softly around us both. Kayla Reyes, I said, will you marry me? Kayla's hands flew to her mouth, tears immediately mixing with the lake water on her face. Yes, she said, barely above a whisper. Yes, obviously yes. We stood together in that familiar water, the same lake that had once provided simple heat relief, now representing something permanent and real. I need to tell you something, Kayla said, once we'd both recovered from the emotional intensity of the proposal itself. That first night, when I knocked on your door, I genuinely wasn't thinking about anything beyond simple heat relief. I never imagined it would lead toward this. Neither did I said. But I think we both just kept showing up, night after night, until something genuine developed naturally. I'm endlessly grateful for that heat wave now, Kayla said, laughing through her tears. Even though I complained about it constantly at the time. Wedding planning proceeded over the following months, both families building genuine excitement about celebrating a relationship that had transformed so significantly from its unusual heatwave-driven origins into something authentically permanent. Kayla's colleague, Denise, a veteran ER nurse who'd worked alongside Kayla for years and had the particular dry warmth of someone who'd seen everything and remained kind anyway, offered her own perspective during our engagement celebration. Kayla's talked about you consistently since you two started dating, Denise told me. The way she describes your patience with her schedule, your understanding of the emotional weight she carries home sometimes, that's genuinely rare in partners of people working demanding medical careers. I've tried to understand what genuine support actually looks like, I said, rather than just assuming what she needs without properly listening. That listening makes all the difference, Denise said. I've watched too many relationships fail because partners couldn't adapt to medicine's genuine unpredictability. 6 months after our engagement, Kayla and I decided to formally move in together, transitioning from our separate but adjacent houses into a single shared home that would properly represent our permanent commitment. It's strange choosing to actually move away from being neighbors, Kayla observed, as we packed boxes for our transition into a new shared home together. Given that our entire relationship began because we happened to live across the street from each other. We're just formalizing what already existed, I said. We've essentially been sharing our lives since that first midnight swim, regardless of technically maintaining separate addresses. She laughed at that and reached over and took the box I was carrying and set it down and hugged me for a while, right there among the half-packed kitchen. I love our weird, impulsive, completely unplanned life, she said. Me too, I said. Especially the parts that started at midnight with no swimsuits. We married that following summer, at the same lake, string lights reflecting across water that once simply offered heat relief during an oppressive week. Kayla waded in during the reception, shoes left on shore, just because she wanted to. A few guests followed, then more. Sometimes the most permanent connections start from the most impulsive nights. If this moved you, tell me where you're watching from tonight, and subscribe, because have you ever made a completely impulsive decision at midnight and had it turn into the best thing that ever happened to you? Next week's story starts exactly that way.